sounded like 10 minutes away. Oh. Yeah, that was but I'm going to get 17 jumpers, and I will be better for it.
I'll just do a quick audio check with the studio people.
Yeah.
Should be good though. Oh. Audio check, 1, 2, 3. Audio check, 1, 2, 3. Audio check, 1, 2, 3. Let's go!
Testing, testing, 1, 2. Welcome to Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. Yeah. Let me know if you need me to try again.
Let's go.
Well, it's a massive game in NPLW Victoria on a Friday night. At the bottom end of the table, it's well and truly a relegation six-pointer. Bentleigh Greens coming in to this round of NPLW Victoria action, rooted to the bottom of the ladder, and they host a Preston Lions team who have somewhat shockingly, really, found themselves in the midst of a relegation dogfight. The Lions currently sitting just 3 points clear of both FV Academy and Brunswick Juventus coming into the weekend. FV Academy with a game in hand as well. And both those two teams, FV Academy and Brunswick Juve, 4 points ahead of Bentleigh tonight. And so the Greens come into the game in desperate need of points as we see the first shot in anger fired on goal. Bentleigh, whose survival hopes are dwindling at the moment, and they would really throw a wrench into the fight for survival at the bottom of the division if they were able to upset Preston Lions tonight. That would, of course, close their gap to Preston to just 4 points, as well as, of course, opening the door for their relegation rivals to potentially move further away from the drop. Bentleigh, though, will be very much concerned with their own fate. They come into tonight's game adrift at the bottom and in need of some points. And they make their way forward for the first time this evening with a cross from one of the mid-season comfortably into the gloves of Maggie Byrne for Preston. The Lions, who have had, well, a pretty noteworthy few weeks. It's probably fair to say, even if the results haven't gone the way of Dan Foden's team. Last week, a 3-0 loss at home to Boroondara. It was certainly not the brightest spot on Preston's season so far in what's been a difficult campaign for last year's grand finalists. And now making their way forward once again. It's Emily Roach who fired that initial shot from just outside the area. Ellie Lamont turns and she too tests the goalkeeper, but that one is well claimed by Natalie Pichak. But looking at those last handful of results for Preston, before the 3-0 loss to Boroondara, there was that 4-3 loss against Essendon Royals. Before that, the 3-2 loss against Bentleigh. They've been well and truly in the contest against some of the higher ranked teams in the division this season, but it's been the story of their campaign. The results haven't always followed the performances, and really the performances haven't been there often enough. Perhaps, though, they can reverse that trend tonight, taking bottom ranked who puts in that cross, met by Emma Checker. Delaney Kenny retreats to Caitlin Story, and eventually the Greens work it back to Karina Tolios. Plenty of attacking intent shown by both sides in the opening couple of minutes in this game. And for one of the first times tonight, Miri Nishimura looks to carry the ball forward for Preston. Spreads it out to the right-hand side for Mebe Tanaka. Johnston on the right wing. Both sides, as soon as they get the ball, really springing forward and trying to put the opposition on the back foot. It's been a really tough couple of months for Preston. Have lost their previous 6 NPLW games. It's a kind of run of form that's been unheard of in the last few seasons. So Preston have climbed their way through the ranks of Victorian football all the way to a grand final last season, as well as the Nike Cup final. Their best chance, though, in a while to reverse that run as they play another team on a 6-game NPLW losing streak in Bentleigh. So it's fair to say not the two most informed teams in the division tonight. There's an opportunity, though, here for Bentleigh Greens. This is Olivia Ingham, who centres it towards Sydney Allen. The best chance early in the game is Ingham, the mid-season recruit, having played the most recent A-League campaign at Wellington Phoenix, combining with Bentleigh's real main attacking threat in the form of Sydney Allen. Of course, both FE Academy and Brunswick Juventus will be keenly observing this game tonight for its impact on their respective ladder positions. Here is Sydney Allen again on the turn. The player with the armband for Bentleigh spreads it out to the left-hand side, where Olivia Hager sends it into the box. It's a good ball as well. Trying to latch onto it was Kenny, but just a little bit too much on the delivery for her to take it under her spell. Last time out for Bentleigh, they did head west to Springside Recreation Reserve and were narrowly beaten by Spring Hills. 3-2 the full-time score in that meeting. Sydney Allen's late goal making the scoreline look a little bit closer than it had for large parts of the game, having to deal with an in-form Maya Markovsky Bentleigh and ultimately the firepower of Spring Hills proving to be a little bit too much in what's somewhat uncharacteristic result for the team out west. Nonetheless, they will have gratefully accepted the result, which moved them further into security of mid-table. and mounts the pressure even more on Bentleigh heading into tonight's contest. This is Jade Feeks for Preston, looking to send the ball up top. Picking it up was Emily Roach, as that ball is thumped clear. Bentleigh, of course, recruiting heavily in the mid-season window. They've given the ball away here, though. A real good look in for Preston. The shot comes from Emily Roach. Well positioned was Natalie Pitchak. A really high-quality recruit for Bentleigh is Pitchak. Certainly one of the best keepers in NPLW Victoria on her day. And not for the first time, Emily Roach threw on goal and really threatening. Roach, who of course spent the most recent A-League campaign with Western United, hasn't quite been able to make things click as of yet in Preston colours, but we'll hope that that can change tonight. Coming up against a Bentleigh team who did have a little bit of a mid-season resurgence. They haven't been able to maintain that though, and that's why they find themselves in the position that they are. Looked really vulnerable at the back in the opening minutes. It's certainly not been defence that's been the biggest problem for Bentleigh this campaign. All of those three teams above them that they're competing with to avoid relegation have conceded more than Bentleigh, but it's on the goal scoring front, just 18 goals in their 16 games, Bentleigh. It's really made life hard for the team when it comes to picking up points. Possibility there of sneaking in behind, but the Preston defence sends it clear. That one well managed by Reagan Bridges, not willing to pull the trigger and happy to take the tackle and therefore win the throw. This is Sydney Allen. Effectively blocked by Rosie Curtis, but Bentleigh nonetheless worked their way through the Preston midfield. And I'm looking for the crossfield ball towards Ingham. And the end-to-end nature of this game has continued throughout the first 10 minutes. Still, both teams surging forward whenever they get the chance. You'd expect that perhaps as the first half continues, that will slow somewhat, as both teams become a little bit more comfortable with the general patterns of play. Here is Roach again, looking to manufacture some space. Sent it forward, but met the solid header of Bridges again. Feeks back in board to Roach. Thought about going back to the right full-back position where Grace Johnston was waiting. Seen the Preston coaching staff experimenting with a few new positions and styles of play. Might have just seen Dan Foden making his way across your screen, and to his dugout. There's a long-range attempt coming in. That one fired by Caitlin Story. Fairly comfortable claim for Byrne in the Preston goal. And so the Lions now look to assert some control of possession. Checker looks upfield towards Henderson. Henderson, who looks to turn on the afterburners. Cross in board. Roach is arriving. It's a decent first touch, just a little bit too heavy. Lamont looking to capitalise on the loose ball. But as has so often been the case this season for Bentleigh, Reagan Bridges with the heroic defensive effort. And it creates the opportunity to launch a counter. It doesn't last long. Preston now making their own way back forward down the left flank. Cross inside is awkward for Pichak, over the goalkeeper's head. And looking to continue the attack is Tanaka. Has Johnston with the underlapping run. Guess who at the near post to send it skyward. Nishimura to Henderson. Henderson skipping clear. Did eventually manage to fire the shot on goal, but was well and truly off balance as she did. And as a result, it flies well wide of Natalie Pichak's post. Ball over the top is a good one. It skips past a number of players. Eventually, it's picked up and the attack continues through Ingham. Ingham happy to share the ball around, uses Hager, and eventually the retreat comes to the feet of Giuliani. Tolios. It's played in a handful of positions this season, Karina Tolios, tonight getting her run in the middle of the park. This game, of course, the start of another blockbuster weekend of NPLW action. It's a packed schedule of Saturday football coming your way via the NPL Victoria YouTube channel tomorrow. South Melbourne hosting Box Hill before Alamein host Essendon Royals at Dorothy Labour. So two teams right in the mix for finals, as well as, of course, South Melbourne and Box Hill before them. And then ending the afternoon with Heidelberg, the league leaders, hosting Brunswick Juventus. Heidelberg marching closer and closer to the premiership crown. And then a fantastic way to round out the weekend as well, to come on Sunday with Burundara hosting Berlin at the Veneto Club. That all with the FV Academy Spring Hills game having been postponed. But certainly still plenty of football action to come your way, and much to be decided at both ends of the table in NPLW Victoria. Of course, very much contributing to that is this game, with two teams on challenging losing streaks and in desperate need of a reversal of fortunes. Preston to get themselves back away from the relegation battle. Bentleigh to try and get themselves off the foot of the table. That ball through was always favouring Johnston. Now Byrne does manage to find Tanaka with the long ball. Guliani up towards Hager, but Johnston stealing back in front, and now Nishimura for Preston. Tries the reverse pass towards Lamont, who's left on the deck by Reagan Bridges. Sydney Allen now. Olivia Hager trying to skip past Johnston, looks to create the space on her left, does really well, the winger, even if ultimately the defence paid off for Preston. Really well read that last attack by Jade Feeks, and we see that as Preston get the ball upfield, the entire outfield unit moves up in unison, trying to constrict the pitch for their opponents. Doesn't work exactly as planned, as there's a daring run down the right-hand side. Sydney Allen is ultimately the player to pull the trigger. That one well off target, though. Ingham again makes space on her right to fire at goal. That one right down the throat of Maggie Byrne. So both goalkeepers have been kept busy in the opening minutes of this game. So still the best chance falling to Emily Roach, which was carried away by Pitchak. Here is Johnston now for Preston. Goes the cross. And tracking back to defend was Samantha Kerwood-Wagner. Of course, the player who made the move across from Heidelberg in mid-season. And that attempt to pick out Kerwood-Wagner again by Tartaglia was unsuccessful. This, of course, the second meeting between these two teams this season. Certainly hoping for a similar kind of matchup to what we saw when these teams met back in April. A remarkable game in round 6 up at BT Connor Reserve. 4-3 was the full-time score in favour of Preston. Valentine Percy scoring a hat-trick for the hosts. Percy, who starts tonight on the bench. Well, if she can make an impact anything like she did last time these two teams faced off, then it'll go a long way towards 3 points for Preston. Tolios retreats to her goalkeeper Pitchak, who has the youngster Amelia Tartaglia in front. And now Sydney Allen turns and runs into space. Still Allen trying to pick out a teammate on the right-hand side. Clever move from Delaney Kenny to attempt to steal in front of Mizo Yamada. But it's the Preston defender who came away with the spoils, having been dragged back by the Bentleigh number 11. Feeks has Lamont presenting. It was a really nice second touch from Ellie Lamont, which certainly caught Reagan Bridges a little flat-footed. And as a result, Preston are able to pile the bodies forward, as is their want. And Emma Checker can look to cause some defensive chaos for Bentleigh. Checker goes along the deck. Johnston, having received from Yamada, thought about playing it back to her teammate, but instead thumping it into an opponent and out for a Preston throw. Is where they like to do their damage. Preston pinning back the opposition, piling the bodies forward. That's what they do when they're at their best. They haven't found it often enough this season. There's no time like the present. If they can maybe put together a good run of form towards the end of the campaign, Preston help in building towards season 2026. Now, though, the Bentleigh defence has stood firm. Maybe got a little bit fortunate in the opening minutes, but now doing a better job at repelling the Preston attacks. Here is Roach for the Lions. Lamont picking up possession. Johnston surging forward from the back. It's a clever reverse pass towards Tanaka. Now Nishimura is the player who cannons it into a Greens defender. Heard there the whistle of our central referee, Lucas Boniccia. And that ball is very comfortably dealt with if you're Natalie Pichak. Central referee Lucas Boniccia, should mention, assisted by Heng Sheng Li and Daniel Collins tonight. As well as fourth official Francis Osena Tim. Chance for Preston. There's a shot on goal. And it's crept all the way in. Preston have the opener. A speculative effort from Emily Roach. It squeezes through the fingers of Natalie Pichak. And Preston Lions lead 1-0. Well, she's had a number of looks on goal in the opening few minutes. Emily Roach hasn't been able to take advantage of her chances up until that point. A little bit of fortune as the goalkeeper unable to repel it away from goal. And well, when things have not been going your way, and that's perhaps a bit of an understatement for Preston in the last 6 weeks, a moment like that, perhaps exactly what they need to get themselves back on the right track. Nishimura, met by Caitlin Story, a couple of seasoned campaigners in the middle of the park in NPL Victoria. The two players wearing the number 8 shirts. They resumed their battle, Nishimura taking it towards the byline and eventually a little bit of confusion as to which way the throw was going to be taken. And in the end, the right decision is reached as Preston will get play back underway. Olivia Hager back to Giuliani. Curtis's touch wasn't able to take control of the ball. Now the run comes forward from Ingham. Goes to fellow mid-season recruit Hager. Really well marshalled by Miri Nishimura. Well, we saw Preston's goal ultimately coming from a similar situation to this, where they were able to spend a few minutes in their final third. Just looking to accumulate that pressure. Here's Nishimura. She's very much capable of doing damage from those kinds of distances. Not on that occasion. It was, well, there wasn't a lot of time and space for her to conjure some of her magic that time. I do sense that for Preston there's just been a little easing of the tension since that opening goal. Playing a bit more like a team in command of their play. That ball has just a tiny bit too much power on it for Grace Johnston. And so as we pass the half-hour mark, it is Emily Roach's goal which separates the two teams. And despite for Bentleigh surviving a couple of early opportunities for Preston and looking to have gotten their teeth into the game, they've really struggled to get back into being an attacking threat since going behind. Hoping to change that is Sydney Allen. Looked to really the other side of the pitch where Kerwood Wagner picked up the ball. Tolios out towards Kenny. Delaney Kenny looks to run inboard. That pass cut out by Nishimura. Hager finds the head of Allen, who wasn't able to take it under a spell. Cleared as far as Giuliani. And that's good use of the body by Ingham. Tolios now. Cross to Story. Ingham again. Clever feet out to Hager. And eventually the numbers prevail for Preston. That the best spell of play that Bentleigh have had since going behind. It's extraordinary how the season has gone for Preston since that last meeting with Bentleigh, that 4-3 win. It is only the one win since then, as they played all of their other games. It was just that 5-1 win against Brunswick Juventus. And tonight looking to secure their first away win in NPLW football since back in round 4 when they got the better of Essendon Royals. Bit of a miscue with the attempted clearance. Could open the door for Bentleigh Greens. Not a moment that Rosie Curtis will look back on too fondly, but no harm coming from it as Emma Checker intercepting the ball in the middle of the park, sending Ellie Lamont forward. She and Reagan Bridges have had plenty to do with each other in the opening 33 minutes of this contest. Tanaka winning back the ball for Preston. She now get a chance to head down the right wing. Remember Tanaka. Nishimura. Back to Checker. Had Sydney Allen's sliding challenge to contend with, but did enough to get it out to Yamada. And Preston happy to be patient with the ball. It's an unfortunate end to the attacking move. Last touch coming off Emma Checker. But they have done a really effective job at blunting any Bentleigh threat since going ahead have Preston. Henderson could be about to add a second. Managed to force her way into some space, and that one a comfortable take for Pichak, who will be grateful that that goalkeeping act went a little bit more to plan. Kerwood Wagner winning the throw for Bentleigh now. Good first touch there from Roach. Johnston, I should say. In the end, wasn't able to continue the attacking move. This time it's Roach whose pass is met by Kerwood Wagner. Might be able to see some of the Preston substitutes making their way along the sideline, led by Valentine Percy. They do still possess just such attacking firepower, Preston, and seen it a number of times now when they turn to Percy off the bench in the second half. Certainly a part of the reason for their high scoring tendencies, Preston, even if the results haven't been falling their way as of yet. There's only the top 5 teams in NPLW Victoria who have scored more than Preston. It tells you something about The attacking end hasn't been their major drawback this season, and that coming into tension with the Bentleigh team, who's very much had issues finding the back of the net. Sydney Allen bursting through in the middle of the park, looking to pick out Ingham. Ingham with the left. And a really solid defensive effort from Grace Johnston, getting in the way of the shot, sending it behind for a corner. And that really effectively done from the player brought in from Perth Glory in the mid-season. Bentleigh corner sent in by Hager. It's into the massive bodies, and they'll get another crack at it, this time from the opposite side. Going to ask Hager to make the run all the way from one side of the pitch to the other. To a similar area, the header from Bridges, narrowly wide of the post. A really good look at goal. Disappointment for Bentleigh. That's probably as close as they have come in this first half to actually scoring. Reagan Bridges, who does have a handful of goals to her name this season. This is Lamont taking on Bridges. Again, it's really solid defending from the American centre half. And the call is a goal kick. So if the result were to remain as it currently sits, Preston would be moving themselves 6 points clear of FV Academy and Brunswick Juventus on 12 points. 10 points clear of Bentleigh at the bottom as well. So it'll just ease maybe a little bit of the tension that's crept in at Preston over the last few weeks. Well, for Bentleigh, when you particularly consider their fixture list over the next month, you really have to take at least a point, but well, really, they need to win tonight's game. You'd feel when you consider the next set of fixtures. Games in the next month against Bentleigh, Essendon Royals, Burundara and Alamein. And yes, it ends with the game against FV Academy that they'll consider a bit more winnable, but a real gauntlet to run before then. Only one of those games, the one against Essendon Royals, will be here at Kingston Heath. So they desperately need to turn things around, Bentleigh, either in the remaining 5 minutes of this first half or in the second 45 still to come. First step in that process, though, will be withholding another period of Preston pressure. Ingham tries the clever touch. It ends up paying off towards Allen, but the defensive effort from Johnston wins back the ball for Preston. Tolios taking no chances as she hoofs it upfield. Well, you can see why Bentleigh have looked to some attacking talent to try and rescue their season with their mid-campaign recruits, the likes of Hager and Ingham, trying to perhaps alleviate some of the burden that fell largely on Sydney Allen in the first part of the campaign, Emily Keppins as well. But it's a difficult situation to come into. Hager is again the target of this long ball. It'll fall to Sydney Allen, who wasn't able to take control before Nishimura tried to pick out Roach. I think if you offered Preston a 1-0 half-time lead before the game, they would have gratefully accepted that offer. Last time Preston led a game at half-time, as we see that ball awkward to deal with for a combination of Pichak and Bridges, who end up colliding. Both look perfectly fine to continue though, so thankfully nothing too severe. The last time Preston led a game at half-time was back at the end of May. They led Box Hill 1-0 at the break thanks to Miri Nishimura's goal. That result didn't pan out the way they had planned, conceding 3 in the second half. So that will give Bentleigh some reason for hope. The way this game is headed, particularly since Preston took the lead, it's going to need a major reversal of fortunes for Bentleigh if they are to claw their way back into the contest. Last passage of play encapsulating a lot of what we've seen. Preston doing really well to constrict the space and make life really difficult for the Bentleigh attack. Sydney Allen trying to get clear, but well, case in point, as Emily Roach did not let up with the defensive efforts. Now there's space for Tanaka. It's inboard to Henderson. That pass narrowly missing out on finding Lamont. See the fourth official readying the board to tell us that there'll be just the 1 minute to be played of first half stoppage time. So perhaps time for one more chance to be created at either end. Preston, for now, though, very content to just maintain control of the ball. It's a heavy touch from Feeks. Gets it up to Tanaka and now continues her run, does the central defender. And although Sydney Allen's able to defend the foray forward, you'd imagine that that will be maybe the last attacking move of this first 45. Unless Preston are particularly expeditious with their next move. Indeed, could there be time for one more Bentleigh attack? Delaney Kenny forced into retreat. And Kerwood Wagner, her pass is only able to find the feet of an opponent. That is half-time at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. It's Preston who lead, thanks to an Emily Roach goal, which would secure, if the scoreline were to remain as it is, an invaluable 3 points for the Lions. For Bentleigh, their season hanging by a thread. They're in desperate need of a reversal of fortunes, and that has to start in the second 45 tonight. They've got a lot of work to do, but still 45 minutes in which to do it. Half-time at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. Bentleigh Greens 0. Preston Lions 1. Welcome back to Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. Second half underway in this massive relegation battle in NPLW Victoria. Bottom of the ladder, Bentleigh Greens looking to drag Preston Lions further into the relegation dogfight. And they'd certainly achieve that if they were to pick up the win tonight. But in order to achieve that outcome, they'll need to turn the scoreline as it stands on its head as we head into the second 45 with Preston 1-0 leaders. A goal from Emily Roach slipping through the fingers of Natalie Pichak, which at the moment sees the Lions in control. Since going ahead, Preston was certainly the better team in that first half. They're well worth their lead. We have seen in moments that Bentleigh do pose some attacking threat. Ellie Lamont there looking to sneak into the Bentleigh box. The second goal for Preston would certainly go a long way to securing an invaluable 3 points and breaking their 6-game losing run. Both of these teams looking to break their 6-game losing runs. At least one of them will. And at the moment it is Preston taking home the 3 points back up north. Nishimura is the target of the throw-in. Ball getting away from her though, and behind for Natalie Pichak's first involvement of the second half. Looking as if there have been some positional changes made by Bentleigh at the break. Seeing Kerwood Wagner's pushed up to the right wing position. Vacated by Delaney Kenny, who's moved into central midfield. Whilst Karina Tolios has reverted to right fullback. Here is Kerwood Wagner trying to skip away from Mizuho Yamada. Winning a throw for the Greens. Kenny is the player who fired a goal. That one well off target though. But a first look in at Maggie Byrne between the sticks for Bentleigh this half. Kerwood Wagner getting onto the Maggie Byrne clearing goal kick. Eventually Preston work it up towards Lamont. It's a clever touch which looks to set away Roach. Back to Lamont. Cleverly read. And one back by Delaney Kenny. Sydney Allen set a task and Macheka always favoured to it. Maggie Byrne, that was clever. Put herself under a little bit of pressure with a heavy first touch, but made amends quick smart. And the second half starting largely in similar fashion to the first. Fairly end-to-end contest, both teams looking to catch their opponent flat-footed. Cross inside, always favouring Pichak. So Bentleigh have done well to reset this game to a more neutral position since play resumed, having spent much of the last 15-20 minutes of the first 45 in their own defensive third. Preston again looking to get on the front foot. Caitlin Story there, stealing in ahead of Nishimura. It's a really firm challenge from Yamada. And it's the Preston defender who wins out. Mizuho Yamada. Cross into the middle of the box. Beats everyone. Trying to continue the attack now is Tanaka. Getting away from Guliani. The young defender did well to make life uncomfortable for her A-League caliber opposition, Mebe Tanaka. And the end result is a Bentleigh goal kick. There are options on the bench, of course, for both teams. Really excitingly for Bentleigh Greens, Rebecca Saber's name is listed. A player who made such an impact for Alamein last season. And now finally getting a run out at her new club, Bentleigh. It's been one of the, well, almost endless list of challenges that have affronted the Greens this campaign. So perhaps if they can get Sabre involved, that might be a key step to getting themselves back in this game. Preston, of course, can match it with their attacking firepower off the bench. Mentioned Valentine Percy, scorer of the hat-trick in the earlier meeting between these teams. So unlikely that it will just be the 11s currently on the pitch that decide the fate of this game. This is Henderson combining with Yamada. And that ball met by the head of Tartaglia. Ingham was in a tight space. And Preston eventually managed to come away with the ball. Roach sending it through to Lamont. Ellie Lamont skips past one and another. And comes crashing into her Bentleigh opponent. That will draw our referee's whistle. Looks to be Delaney Kenny who got her body in the way of the Lamont run. Bentleigh player walking it off quite comfortably. Lamont taking a few extra seconds to get back to her feet. It looks as if both players will be good to continue. And eventually, at the drop of our referee Lucas Boniccia, we're able to restart play. Kenny, that was a clever touch to get past Nishimura. Nice 1-2 with Haga. And this is a nice attacking move from the Bentleigh Greens. Kerwood Wagner has the supporting run from Ingham. Ingham thought about pulling the trigger with the pass, and now it looks to be Mizuho Yamada who was resting her foot on the ball. And as a result, Bentleigh will have an opportunity to perhaps deliver into the penalty area. Delaney Kenny, the sole challenger. Bit of a discussion between Dan Foden and the fourth official about the nature of the free kick award. Chance for Bentleigh as the ball is loose in the box. Touch from Kenny to Story. This is Allen now. Allen's crossed inside, met by Curtis and just kept in play by Nishimura. Bentleigh showing a little bit more dynamism in attack in this second half. Changing the angles a bit more readily. Some faster pace attacks as well. Kerwood Wagner gets around Nishimura. Now has Yamada to contend with, but does enough to win her team another corner. Another chance for Bentleigh to maybe find a way to breach the Preston defence. Sent into the heart of the box, headed away by Preston. The attack's continuing. Giuliani puts Maggie Byrne in a spot of trouble. Ends up going wide of the post, but that wasn't comfortable for the young Preston shot stopper. From the looks of things, both Valentine Percy and Eliza Amendolia heading to warm up from the Preston bench. So may well be a couple of changes imminent for Dan Foden. Well managed that one by Curtis. Having to deal with some close attention from some Bentleigh shirts. And now Checker sees Henderson's run on the left flank. In towards Lamont. Once again, Bridges reading it well. So a clever header from Yamada to get it back to Checker. Now Curtis and Story will both charge at the same ball. There's another firm coming together. This game not lacking in feeling. And now Sydney Allen for Bentleigh. Well, the tension has certainly risen in the last few minutes in this game. It was a tense start. Both teams with so much on the line. Preston were able to see some control, but this game threatening to bubble over somewhat in the last few minutes. Bridges again with the strong defending. And with the ball going out of play. I believe that Dan Foden is the player who's been, or the person in the dugout who's been shown the yellow card. Preston coach was very displeased with a couple of challenges in that last passage of play. Fair to say that most associated with Preston are feeling the tension. That's a foul throw from Mizuho Yamada. Things getting a bit messy at Kingston Heath. The scoreline remains 1-0 to Preston. But there's a big chance here for Olivia Ingham. Ingham through on goal. An anticlimactic end. Totally fluffing her lines. And Maggie Byrne will be very grateful to have watched it sail well wide of the post. Preston are readying those couple of changes, which will presumably happen in the next break of play. Both Valentine Percy and Eliza Amendolia getting ready to make their mark in the final half hour of action. A change will now be able to take place. And from the looks of things, Ellie Lamont and Emily Roach are the two players who will be withdrawn. So Roach, the goal scorer. Spot taken up by Amendolia, whilst Valentine Percy takes over from Ellie Lamont. So Preston looking to maybe regain a bit of control that they've lost in this second half. Nishimura's ball, not picking out a teammate. Over an hour played now in this one, still Preston lead. And still, as things stand, they'll be claiming those invaluable 3 points. Spread by Tanaka, out to Johnston. Preston looking to work their way into the penalty area. That ball through, always favouring Tartaglia, who's happy to shepherd it behind for a goal kick. Bentleigh look as if they themselves will be making a change or two in the next few minutes. Wait and see exactly who it is that they turn to. Worth noting that with a win tonight, not only are they moving 6 points clear of the bottom two Preston, it's only 9 points that they're behind South Melbourne, who currently occupy fourth, and as much as you'd say a late dash for finals is more or less out of the question, it's a pretty extraordinarily small number considering how poorly things have gone for Preston in the last 6 weeks. And they can certainly salvage something from this season with a strong end to the campaign. Do still have games against FV Academy and Brunswick Juventus in their final 5 matches. Once again, venturing forward the Lions. Tanaka's attempt at a ball inside eventually falls to Ingham. Her pass is intercepted by Feeks. And Preston may get another chance to surge forward through Tanaka. This time they play it more patiently. Curtis out to the left wing where Nishimura is waiting. Clever pass with the outside of the boot. Henderson brought down. And our referee not convinced the contact was sufficient for a penalty. Further frustration comes from the Preston dugout. It was a pretty stiff coming together. You can understand the claims for a free kick. So often the referee's looking for that contact with the legs to make those calls. So perhaps Bentleigh have gotten away with one there. Giuliani sending that ball away from goal. And with that next stoppage of play, Looks as if it'll be Olivia Hager to be withdrawn, and that will pave the way for Rebecca Saber to come into the contest. Saber making her 7th appearance of the campaign. It's been a difficult year for last season's breakout star, you'd have to say, Rebecca Saber. In an Alamein team that didn't exactly achieve great heights. Cross inside, there's a real look for Preston. The shot, though, sent back across the face of goal by Tanaka. Lions very nearly doubling their lead. It would be a great time to do it just when Bentleigh are making their next push forward. Just to finish on Rebecca Saber, of course, rounding out the year with that joint gold medal win. Allen doing really well in combination with Kerwood Wagner. This is Saber, who lofts the ball forward. You can see the Bentleigh attack has been energised by Saber's introduction. That one well read by Amendolia, stealing in ahead of Tolios. Percy's touch takes the ball away from her. Now Kerwood Wagner again, Yamada, Nishimura, out to Curtis. Credit to the way that Preston have just managed to keep a tab on Bentleigh even when they've looked to burst out of their box. This is Percy, Percy turns and draws a wonderful save from Natalie Pichak. The first real look on goal for the Preston substitute. And the result is another Preston corner to be delivered by Nishimura. It finds Percy as well. And it was disputed as to off whom the last touch came, and the officiating team conclude it is to be a Bentleigh goal kick. Very much seeing the impact that Percy can have, having come off the bench. Valentine Percy has 10 league goals to her name this campaign. Preston's leading scorer. And she could be on again here if the Lions were able to get the ball into the box. That one flicking up into a Bentleigh arm. But the nature of it happening means our referees are happy to see a corner awarded. This time it's taken short. Sent in by Amendolia. Percy was there. The attempted clearance is back at the feet of the Lion substitute. Amendolia back towards her fellow substitute Percy. This time Pichak is able to get on the ball. So fair to say that the substitutes for both teams have certainly affected the dynamic of the game. The scoreline, though, remains unchanged for now. And that means that the result is far from locked in. Georgia Henderson stealing in front, but ultimately the decision goes Bentleigh's way. Well, it looked as if the call was going Henderson's way, having gotten in ahead of Allen, but I think the referee deeming that Henderson had illegally got into that advantageous position. So it's Bentleigh who deliver the free kick. That ball over the top will be kept in by Ingham. Back to Sabre. As Preston bodies everywhere she looks, Rebecca Sabre, so goes wide to the left flank. And that touch a little bit too heavy, so Preston will be very grateful to have themselves a goal kick of their own. Under 20 minutes of regulation time remain here at Kingston Heath. And the problem for Bentleigh remains that they haven't really generated the high quality chances that you feel they need to get the result that they crave. That would require 2 goals. There was that chance for Ingham where she totally, well, lost her footing, lost her balance at the crucial moment. And that's sure the shot sprayed well wide. That's probably as good a look as the Greens have had in this second 45. For Preston, though, they won't be comfortable yet. Still just the 1 goal margin. And that's why they're continuing their voracious hunt for a second goal. That's a good ball in towards Amendolia. It was really well worked. Lovely cross in, I think, from Johnston, and Amendolia chested it down. Made the space for the shot, but getting underneath the attempt and sending it well over the crossbar. Do still have a handful of attacking options on the bench. Do Bentleigh if they were to turn to them. Coco Parker, one of those players. Maeve Brown as well. Players that they could look to for another route towards goal. Perhaps though Sydney Allen can be the player to manufacture something. Defensive attempt from Henderson. Allen got the shot away in any case. From that distance, though, needed a more accurate attempt to really test Maggie Byrne. Checker very nearly coughing up to Kerwood Wagner, but made amends quickly. Well, as mentioned earlier, it doesn't get much easier for Bentleigh in the next few weeks. Next time out there, heading up to the Veneto Club to take on Bulleen Lions in a Saturday afternoon game. That will be far from straightforward. Preston, well, they can see out these remaining minutes. They'd head into another game next week where they'll be favoured back at home, welcoming FE Academy on a Sunday afternoon. So a chance for Preston to restore a bit of comfort and some of that winning feeling around the club. They do still have around about 20 minutes of game time to navigate, though, before they can think about putting together a winning run. That ball is awkward to deal with for Byrne, and so instead Yamada is the player to send it out for a Bentleigh throw. This is Valentine Percy for Preston. Supporting run is there from Tanaka. Johnston as well. And they'll be very happy to see the ball in this part of the pitch, Preston. A long way away from the Bentleigh goal and able to get numbers up the ground. Every outfield player at the moment in the Bentleigh half. Does mean there's a chance to spring forward if they can execute Bentleigh's. Attempting to do so is Sydney Allen. Allen spraying the pass in the direction of Kerwood Wagner, but Yamada had plugged the hole in between a couple of Bentleigh targets. Henderson takes a step clear of Tartaglia. Now Nishimura inboard to Amendolia. Percy caught a little bit flat-footed, but could still win back the ball, and indeed does Valentine Percy. And that was a minute well spent if you're Preston, going from one side of the pitch to the other. Still Preston in control and with the throw-in. Story has a couple of opponents for company, did really well to worm her way out of the Amendolia Nishimura cul-de-sac. Well, the one thing going in Bentleigh's favour with the time ticking down is that it will increase the tension in the game, making things more and more nervy for the Preston backline in particular. With that comes the lack of seconds remaining in which to reverse this scoreline. They really do need the win, Bentleigh, if they are to make some moves towards safety. And that long-range attempt from Caitlin Story isn't going to do the trick. Well, won by Ingham. Uses Sabre. Rebecca Sabre pulls the trigger with the right. Grace Johnston, who's defended impressively all night, is there again to send the ball clear. And we'll have to wait and see how the complexion of the game changes for these final 10 minutes or so. Will we see, as we do so often, the chasing team really seizing control of the majority of possession, and the team in front just sitting back and absorbing punches, trying to get to the finish line with their lead? Or indeed, will there remain a level of ambition for Preston? Percy thinks so. She's attempting to win it ahead of Bridges, but it was the American defender who got there first. And with that, Bentleigh will be allowed to make their next substitution. Coco Parker is the player who will come into the game. And she'll take the place of Caitlin Story, whose long-range shot was her last meaningful involvement in this game. Tanaka has support in the shape of Amendolia. Now towards Percy. Tartaglia drives forward for Bentleigh. Sends it cross field. Parker lurking. Johnston composed. Preston edging closer to their first win in 7 games. Their first away win since round 4. The Greens do have themselves another dead ball opportunity, another chance to put it into the box, cause some chaos. There's no doubt that Sydney Allen will be the player charged with delivering this one. This is perhaps the most likely route to goal for Bentleigh. Allen to deliver towards the back post, headed across the face of goal. Nishimura will collect the scraps and hoof them upfield. So another heart and mouth moment for Preston. They eventually get it away. Uncomfortable when the ball delivered into the massive bodies as it was just then. Preston are to see out this game. It'll be a 5th win in 6 competitive meetings with Bentleigh. And a 5th in a row. They won the first ever back in 2023. Did Bentleigh Greens, that is, and it's been all Preston since. That trend looking at the moment to continue, unless Bentleigh can find something in this final 10 minutes of action. Rosie Curtis now for Preston. Shoved off the ball by Sabre. And the attempt to lead the charge forward by Giuliani is short-lived. Curtis picks out Tanaka. Remember Tanaka sliding it towards Percy. Valentine Percy wanting to get it on the right, goes with the back heel. Tanaka had just overrun it though. Well, you certainly can't question Valentine Percy's industry. Would be a real nightmare of a player to defend against, you get the sense. Very happy to go full-blooded into every challenge she can, Valentine Percy. For now, though, Bentleigh have regained possession. Tolios high into the night sky and towards Sabre, whose header works out a treat. Rebecca Sabre has Parker on the left. That's where the pass goes. Parker trying to return the favour, but behind her striker. Nishimura for Preston. You can see a real reduced urgency to drive forward from the Preston numbers, and understandably so. Allen and Nishimura have battled all night. And in that edition, it's the Preston midfielder who comes out on top. Another change made by Dan Foden. Eva Harrington is into the game, taking the place of Mebe Tanaka. Harrington, one of the experienced heads, despite her still relatively young age. Eva Harrington has been a regular feature for Preston for a long time. Amendolia fires towards goal, got a second crack at it as well. And Natalie Pitchak grateful to see that sail over her crossbar and behind for a goal kick. But there's no time to lose for the Bentleigh shot stopper. Quickly look to send it towards the midway point of the field. Tartaglia with the header down. And winning the foul is Henderson. And that's a big win for Preston. A warm applause from the Preston section of the ground, of the grandstand that is. Very grateful for a call which will allow their team to take off another minute or so from the clock. Bentleigh readying to make their final roll of the dice. Couple more substitutions, working out whether it's coming before or after the free kick is taken. It'll be Maeve Brown and Belinda Stojcevski to play out the finishing minutes. Karina Tolios, one of the players replaced. And Georgia Guliani, the other. So a couple of youngsters out, paving way for Brown and Stojcevski. By the time this free kick is taken by Miri Nishimura, we'll be into the final 2 minutes of the 90. And don't be surprised to see Nishimura go straight for goal. Indeed, she goes, Miri Nishimura, and stings the palms of Pitchak. It's awkward for the goalkeeper, Percy, to turn it home. The offside flag, though, means there's no second goal for Preston. It was a nightmare to deal with for Natalie Pitchak, and she's copped a bit of a physical blow in the whole passage of play. Wasn't able to get it behind for a corner or goal kick. And the desperate attempts by Preston to bundle the ball over the line have left the Bentleigh goalkeeper as a bit of collateral. So as we head to the end of the 90, we're about to find out how many extra minutes Bentleigh will have to rescue something from this game. How many minutes Preston will have to see out to finally secure a win. It's a really firm challenge from Stojcevski on the Preston captain, Georgia Henderson. She's a tough nut though, Henderson, so she's sprung back to her feet and ready to go again. Stojcevski into the referee's notebook. Well, it's not been an easy night to be on the officiating team. Received plenty of feedback, have all of the officials. As you saw again in that last passage, but we're now into 4 minutes of second half stoppage time. 4 minutes for Preston to see out and secure the win, which will ease any tensions around the club, at least for the time being. Henderson. Cleared away by Kerwood Wagner, only as far as Nishimura. And Bentleigh was the target of that pass. Now Allen. Charging through the middle of the park. And Parker was her target, but instead it's Preston who will spring forward in the opposite direction, led by Harrington. Nishimura now trying to keep the ball heading in the right direction from a Preston perspective. Bentleigh will regain possession. Bentleigh just losing control. Checker will comfortably get to this ball first and send it right back towards the halfway line. Stayed in play, in fact, so it's worked out pretty effectively for Preston. Cross towards Percy. An important touch came in from Tartaglia. And the instruction for Grace Johnston is to head towards the corner flag. Very much happy to take what they've earned up to this point, Preston. And Grace Johnston is expertly sucking more seconds off the clock. It's been a hard physical battle all night, particularly this second half. And Preston are very close to winning it. And Bentleigh towards Percy. Falls instead to Nishimura. Well, it would have been an appropriate way to finish. It was very close to the top corner. But with it going just wide, Bentleigh still have a slither of hope. Only a couple minutes left on the clock. Again, Nishimura is the roadblock in the middle of the park. And Bentleigh very grateful to see Tartaglia's boot come in and sent it out for a throw. Well, we wondered whether Bentleigh would be able to get the game in that state where they've got Preston pinned back into just piling on the pressure in the closing minutes. It's Preston, though, who've been able to achieve that outcome. It's been a very effective management of the final minutes of this game. And indeed, Preston Lions have their first win in 7 games. They break the losing streak and take an invaluable 3 points back to BT Connor Reserve. 3 points which lift them 10 points clear of Bentleigh, 6 points clear of second and third bottom. And they can now look to build towards a strong end to what's been an overall fairly underwhelming campaign. But they've secured the double over Bentleigh. Emily Roach's goal proving to be the difference on the night. For the Greens, they remain rock bottom, and their hopes of survival are getting slimmer and slimmer. They'll head into a tough next month of football, trying to pull off the most unlikely of escapes to maintain their status in NPLW Victoria. But that's all the time that we have tonight from Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. It's Preston who win this big game at the bottom of the NPLW ladder. Full time, Bentleigh Greens 0, Preston Lions 1.